Hi, my name is Eleanor Vieira, and I represent the Revere Beautification Committee. And I'm here today to talk to you about our committee and all the good things that we do in the city. To my left here is Christine Pierannienzi and the mayor, and we will talk about our hotline that we have on our committee. I just want to say, I don't know if you people know about the hotline. It's a hotline that we have to call in and report all different kinds of items, trash and grass and all things that shouldn't be around the city. Our number is 781-485-2770. We also have a website, which is www.reverebeautification.org. Check our website. It will show you all the things that we have. And now I'd like to send you over to Christine, who does our hotline. And we've had this done for, let's say about maybe 10 years. Christine came in and made it bigger and better, and she runs it. We meet with the mayor in the mayor's office every 6 weeks, and the Board of Health joins us in the DPW. And so I'll turn you over to Christine, and she'll explain to you a little bit about our hotline.
Thanks, Eleanor. Great to be here today. As you said, the hotline has been in existence for quite some time, maybe 10 years. Yeah. When I joined and started volunteering for the Beautification Committee, I think it was around 2009 or so, and learned about the hotline. And like many Revere residents, I didn't even know it existed until I joined the committee. And I said, this is great. You know, the fact that you're working with city departments like the Board of Health and the DPW and the mayor's office to get things resolved to the satisfaction of the committee and to residents on the whole, you know, that's terrific. So one thing I did when I came in that I realized would make it easier for the Beautification Committee to track issues and keep track of what was unresolved was to put things in a spreadsheet, which is really pretty basic, but instead of just having a list of issues, I put them all in a spreadsheet and devised it so we have a list of open issues, we have a list of pending issues, and then we have a list of closed issues. And what that enabled us to do was to tally up every year, every month, whenever, and see how many issues were reported, were closed, and addressed to satisfaction. So just a small note on that point that in preparation for sitting down with you today, I looked back to my record on the spreadsheet. Since I created it in 2010, we've closed 644 issues. So that roughly is 161 issues a year, or roughly 13 issues a month. And we can talk further about how we work the issues and how they get to be closed. Sometimes they're very simple. You know, if overgrown weeds are reported and uncut grass is reported, something like that is pretty straightforward. The Board of Health would notify the owner that they need to cut their grass, or they would issue a ticket depending upon the severity of the problem, and then the person hopefully would take care of it. And something like that, the issue can be opened and closed within a month, since it's, you know, cut and dried. Once the person takes care of something, or the property owner or business owner, then the issue's closed. So
if a person maybe is riding through the street and sees a yard full of trash or whatever, all she has to do is call this hotline.
Right.
And report it.
Right.
And it's an anonymous hotline.
Right. So you don't have to say who you are.
All you give is what the problem is and the address, the correct address. And you always have to speak slow, you know. Right. But that works pretty well.
And the great thing, I think, for the city, too, is that instead of getting phone calls from residents directly to all the different departments, if we get calls about issues on the hotline, we send them into the appropriate departments. We have people from the Board of Health that we send them to. We have people from DPW. They get added to our list, and then we can keep track of them. And, you know, I mean, obviously, a resident can always call the city as well directly.
Right.
But this is another way to report an issue, which is really quick and easy. You listen to a recording, you leave a message identifying the address, what the issue is. You don't have to, identify yourself, and then we take it from there.
Right.
So I'd like to think it's helpful for the city departments, the Board of Health and the DPW, rather than getting calls from residents.
And we work with the mayor.
Yes. Yep.
And we will see him in
Right.
his office every 6 weeks. We go over the
Open issues.
open issues, and we also have brought on questions too.
Right.
So we do
Right.
that, and it
Right.
really works well. And thank God for the mayor, how
Yes.
he's so
Open to
responsive
have
to
us
us.
coming,
And
yeah.
the DPW comes in, the Board of Health, so it really works well. And I'm really
Right.
proud of this this hotline. I am really proud of it.
Yeah, I think it's a great,
know.
thing that the R.B.C. does that most people don't realize. 'Cause
Yes.
you can see flowers, you can see
Yes.
different upgrades that the Beautification Committee
Right.
does.
Right.
But this is one of the things behind the scenes that the
Right.
committee does that I think is
And
really
we're
helpful.
showing people that you don't have to live next to a place that's not very good looking, so you can report that. It's a lot of things in the city that people just don't know that they can report it. They're afraid or whatever. So this is a really, really good option,
Right. I think this is very good for issues that require input from multiple departments too, and input from the mayor, because a lot of times these aren't straightforward issues. They might be complicated. It might be, a home that's, for sale, that's an estate sale or waiting for someone to take responsibility or whatnot, and it might have multiple issues. Sometimes we get a call about a place that has, the high weeds, the trash stored out front, and, a multitude of issues. So the great thing about our meetings with the city and the mayor is that we get everyone in the room at the same time.
Right.
And that's really key as well.
Right. And I'm sure the mayor appreciates us doing this. It's just a help for all the departments and to converse and to make our city cleaner and better.
Right.
Like
Right.
some of the trash issues that we've talked about, or abandoned properties.
Yeah, I have to say, I've been enjoying listening to you two talk about what the Revere Beautification Committee does, because hopefully that's letting viewers know what you do, and hopefully some people watching might even pick up the phone and call the hotline and volunteer their services to participate in the group. I know you're always looking for people to be another set of eyes and ears, and the Beautification Committee, I can say unequivocally, has been really, for me, almost an extension of our inspectional services department. You are eyes and ears out there that are out. I know sometimes you go out and you recognize somebody for doing a great job and acknowledge them as kind of the home of the month or the business of the month,
Yes.
for doing a real nice job in beautifying our city. You've been staunch advocates in my office to lobby me for funding to put up more plantings and to provide more projects with respect to beautification. Just the other day, you were in my office talking about the beautification of Bell Circle that is going to be noticed not only by Revere residents, by people across the region once that actually comes to fruition. So you really do serve such a useful purpose. And by the way, they're all volunteers. You're all volunteers, people, concerned citizens here in the city that want to make our city beautiful. And that, for me, I have to say, I'm a stickler for that. I really am, real serious when it comes to making the city looking nice. And I know, I can't expect our DPW and our street sweepers and us to be everywhere all the time. There's that's why it's always going to be a work in progress. But I feel like we are making some headway in beautifying the city and, taking specific areas and brightening them up and making them look nicer. I think it's also worth noting that inspectional services, when we go over our monthly meeting and you all identify problem locations, whether it has to do with trash or it has to do with graffiti or, you know, abandoned buildings, whatever it happens to be, and we ultimately send out inspectional services, that oftentimes leads to a fine, you know, over, you know, grass that's uncut. And I think the public should know that these fines aren't meant to just hurt people. They're meant to keep people in compliance, because once you let this piece of property go and that piece of property go and that piece of property go without any consequences, well, there goes the neighborhood.
Right.
And so we are very vigilant.
Right.
And I don't apologize for that. We're very, very vigilant. We have a very active inspectional services department that will go out, and they want people to maintain their properties.
Right.
And, you know, we get calls all the time. There's extenuating circumstances because of this and because of that. The bottom line is, with home ownership comes responsibility.
That's right. That's right.
And
if I have to cut my
Hire
grass,
someone,
you should cut
or-
your grass.
Yeah.
If I have to put my barrels out right, why shouldn't you have to be? You know?
Yeah, yeah, and I know sometimes, I mean, it's unfortunate
Yeah.
because there are people that have some difficulty in like meeting those guidelines. We try to be helpful, as helpful as we can.
Right.
You know, we try to recommend maybe services that can help them.
Right.
You know,
Right,
paid
right.
services. We
Right.
try to do what we can. You know, we can't go onto personal property as a municipality and do work, but we try to be as helpful as we can. But you know, that's just the cruel reality, and you know, it's awful. But if we want to live in a city that's healthy, a city that's vibrant, a city that's clean, you know, we can't do it by allowing 25% of the people to not abide by our health code,
That's
our
right.
health
This is
ordinances.
our city, and we want it to look. We want it to look nice. So
Yeah.
you know, we
Right.
really when you talk about volunteer, someone asked me if I was getting paid for it, and I said, no, I'm not getting paid for it. But all I do, everything I get put in, I get back double folds, because when something is reported and I go by and it's fixed up, I say, wow, that's the beautification committee. So it doesn't need money. It's just a good feeling. Do you know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's
Well, that's it.
And I've learned so much. I've learned so much about the city and everything we do. I've never, you know, you just don't know these things when you're just home and this and that. But when you volunteer and you learn all these things, it really gives you a good feeling. You know.
Absolutely.
You know.
Definitely.
Yeah. So.
You know, it's you know, it's really you know, as I say, it's an invaluable service that that the Beautification Committee and you provide, you know, every month, showing up and really spending that time and effort to put together these documents and to follow through and follow up and really hold City Hall accountable. You know, I know that, you know, like every other city and town and probably most private businesses, you know, where a lot of people feel as though they're overworked and underpaid, you know, and I know some people may disagree with that, you know, but you know, truthfully, given the size of the city and the workload and so on and so forth, you know, and all the little things that creep up in between just routine maintenance issues, and there's an awful lot of work, and so having the extra sets of eyes like yourselves and having, you know, those reports each month, you know, what'd you say, 644 issues?
Since 2010.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, just try to imagine if those 644 issues weren't addressed.
Oh,
What the city
trash.
would look like.
When Christine I mean, Christine has we used to have a hotline before, and it was just a small one, this and that. But when Christine came on board and she could do the Excel, when you have a new volunteer who knows a little bit more about it, it's just something new. So she brought in the hotline sheet and Excel, and you know, showed us how to do all those pendings and stuff like that. It really works. It really works, and that's why I encourage people to. We just got a couple of new members in this year, and I'm hoping it's going to work, because we need new ideas. I'm a firm believer in change and you know, making things better with new people. And like Christine really came in with the hotline, and it worked perfect, you know.
Thank you.
You know, and I mean, it's out of all the things that we do, the beautification committee, that's my favorite because we take care of the whole city, the whole city, and you know, and like I say, I don't know, Christine, they talked about the trash. Rob, if you have any pictures of the trash, all the things.
Yeah,
that,
we get quite a variety of
Right.
calls on the
Right.
hotline. We get calls about trash,
Report the trash. If someone overgrown dumpsters.
overflowing dumpsters.
Right.
When the Board of Health updated their code, their ordinance regarding containers for trash, that generated a whole slew of new calls and new reports because, as you know, trash needs to be covered.
Yes.
You know, you can't have trash on the ground, etc. I won't get into all the details on that, but those small details about trash may seem small, but they really make a difference in quality of life. When you walk down a street
Right.
and trash is contained where it should be and it looks the way it should,
Yeah.
you feel proud to live in that neighborhood. And obviously the converse is that you walk down the street and you see trash where it shouldn't
Right.
be.
Right.
So
Yeah,
It's constant education. We have to constantly educate the people on, you know, I mean, they may look at us and say, you know, but like those pictures that we just showed, a lot of that's not right. There's the Board of Health sends out violations and on how to put your trash out. You know, has to be in barrels, covered barrels.
Covered.
Yeah, and you know, it's and so we won't have a lot of those little critters running around.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I, quite honestly, I think, and somebody, I don't know which one of you just talked about, maybe in education or informing people. You know, I'd almost like to see our health department going into schools
Yes.
and telling kids about, you know, why not to litter and why, you know, I mean, nothing is more. I was driving down the street one day, and this car in front of me rolled down the window and threw out this McDonald's bag in the middle of, I think it was like Revere Street. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I took the plate number down, and that person got a fine in the mail.
God bless.
And you know, I think we all need to be looking for things like that. I mean, it is uncalled for
I
people to
know.
drive through our city
Yeah.
and think that they're going to use it as a dumping ground.
Right.
And you know, I mean, I want to see people take pride in this city.
Right.
And how proud can you be if you're driving down, you know, whether it be Broadway or driving down Washington Avenue or driving down Bennington Street or driving anywhere in the city and seeing trash on the side of the road?
Right.
Who feels good about that?
Right.
Oh, I
You
know.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, so you know, if we had more resources, I'd like to have more people
Right.
out there monitoring
Right.
just for people who are littering, because
Right.
that frustrates me to
Right.
no end.
Right.
You know, we spend a lot of money
to clean
trying to
up.
keep
Oh,
the city
yeah.
clean.
With the street
and when
sweepers and
people
stuff like
use
that,
it
yeah.
as a dump and think that they're just going to dump, I mean, what's so hard about putting that McDonald's bag in the back seat of the car and then throw it out
Right.
when you get home?
Right.
Or putting that
Right.
coffee cup
Right.
over in the seat and throw it out when you get home.
Sure. Right.
I mean, I don't understand the concept of why it's okay for people to think they can throw things out the window.
Oh, I know.
And it's
Or
just
cigarette butts out the window.
Absolutely.
You know, it's really
Whatever it
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Whatever
it
it
doesn't
is.
belong on the street.
Right,
And
right.
you know, you would think that people that lived here would want to feel proud of the city that they live in, would want to have people come visit them from other towns, other
Right,
cities and
right.
towns, and see clean streets,
Right.
clean sidewalks.
Right.
You know, when I first became mayor, I went out and bought, I forget how many, I think about 50 push brooms.
Oh, yes.
And I took them and I hand-delivered
Yeah.
them to every business owner up and down Broadway, down Shirley Ave, and some other parts of the city, just as, it was more symbolic. I mean, it wasn't like I'm going to give them a broom and I'm going to come and check
to
and make
work.
sure they're using it.
Yeah, right.
But it was more symbolic. It was to let these businesses know
Right.
that we were very, very serious about wanting to keep the city clean, and we were essentially soliciting their help and participation. So maybe with that broom, the merchants, the business owners would be able once a day, twice a day, whatever it is, just to take care of in front of their little area.
Yeah, right.
I don't expect them
Right.
to go and do the whole street, but if everyone did their
Right.
little part.
One day I went into one day I went into one of the banks, and I walked in and I was doing some business, and the front of the place was terrible. So I walked in and I said, is there a manager around? So they showed me to the manager. I said, sir, I just walked in and the sidewalk looks terrible. I said, is there a person that can, come out and clean that? He's, sure, like that. He was very nice and this and that. But, it took a lot of nerve for me to do that, because I'm not, I don't know if I could do what you did when you're riding down the street and stop and, get the guy's number, because that takes a lot of, it's scary sometimes today. You don't want to, you're
Yeah.
afraid to do, and a lot of people I find today, that's why they don't want to call the hotline, because they're afraid.
Well,
and I can understand that,
But you can call anonymously.
That's right,
And
that's
from
right,
your
yeah.
standpoint, you can call the city. I mean,
That's
that's
right,
why
that's right.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes because you guys are so vigilant and so aggressive, I know that sometimes, as you may know, our Board of Health and our inspectors seem a little flustered and they get a little overwhelmed, because they do. They have a heavy workload.
Yeah, right.
But they know at the end of the day, too,
Right.
that everything that we're doing collectively, the Beautification Committee, the Mayor's office, everything that we're giving to them makes the city a better place.
Right.
And we're always
Right.
willing to help.
Yep.
There's not a time if they have a problem, we're always willing to help.
Right.
And you do.
Yeah.
You do. And that's why, I really, I know I said it at the beginning, but I really hope that people watching this
Yeah.
will call up. I mean, if you're interested in keeping the city clean,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a great group of volunteers already, but
yeah.
safe to say, nowhere near enough to take care of an entire
There's so many
city.
programs that could be implemented, but we don't have the staff to do it.
Right.
We don't have the volunteers. We have a little committee and this and that, and we're always looking for people to help out.
So if you're interested
Yeah,
in
so-
volunteering,
Right, call the hotline.
you can call the
Absolutely.
hotline. You've got the number.
Right,
They're a
right,
great
right.
group of volunteers.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, it doesn't. There's no set hours. If you
No, yeah.
if you wanted to help out for
You can help
an
out
hour
at
a
home.
month,
Yeah.
or you want to
Yeah.
help out
Help
from,
at home.
from home.
Yeah.
If you
I
just
mean-
want to monitor your own area, if you want to
Right.
just make sure that everybody is keeping in compliance,
Send it
I mean,
in a way.
that's one way of helping.
Our
Right.
committee, I feel, is run. We can't do it without the people.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our committee, but we can't do it without the people. If the people don't call the hotline, I mean, yes, a lot of times we see different things than committee people, but we need the people to help us out.
Yeah.
And,
Maybe, I don't know, if, Rob at some point, maybe he can actually put the number
Put
up
it up-
again, but or maybe
put
put
it
it
up
on the
on the
screen.
screen.
Yep.
But maybe you can recite it again.
It's
Eleanor.
781-485-2770.
So that's
It's our anonymous hotline.
so that's either to report issues or, right, if you wanted to volunteer to be
Anything.
on the committee,
Talk to us, ask me to call them, anything,
right? Right. So, again, on behalf of the city, really on behalf of our residents,
Right.
I want to thank you both and members of the committee that aren't here, obviously,
Right.
for the great job that you do. It's you fly under the radar. You're not looking for any fanfare. There's no, but 644 issues just since 2010, right?
That's a
what
lot.
you've identified.
Yeah, that's how many we've closed.
Yeah, that's how many have been
Right,
closed. I mean,
right,
there's
right.
still obviously open issues that
Right.
some
Some linger, but
some can
yeah.
happen. Some can be
Right.
resolved quickly, more quickly than others. But really, the entire city should be very grateful and thankful for the work that
Right.
you do. I mean,
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
because you're not paid. You're not. You're here as volunteers, concerned citizens that care deeply about the city. And
And
it
one
makes
door,
my job easier.
one door opens, one door closes. You learn so many different things when you're on a committee. That like I've been volunteer for years when my kids were small. So not that there's a volunteer person, really learns a lot. So it means a lot. But my goal is to keep this committee going, but also to move in with the other nonprofits, so we can grasp together, and so we won't overlap. So try to have more all the all the groups, just to learn what they do and who they are and this and that. More working together. So we won't.
Well, that's one thing I want to, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because I think of it all the time. I mean, we are very fortunate here in this city to have the number of volunteers in many different capacities. Right. Whether it's, whether it's like the Revere Beautification Committee, members of the Revere Chamber of Commerce, business owners that come out and participate in the various programs and things we do here in the city, the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club.
There's so many.
You've got all your coaches out there that watch over kids, and there's just the list is endless. The number of committees that we have here. We created an Office of New Revere Residents here that helps newcomers to the city, maneuver their way around. Our Revere Neighborhood Advisory Committee. There's a lot of different boards and committees and organizations such as yourselves that really add to the quality of life here in the city that, quite honestly, don't get enough credit and don't get, in my opinion, enough exposure. So something like this, what you're doing here, to promote the work of the Revere Beautification Committee is really a great vision, and hopefully it's going to have some real positive impacts as it goes forward.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Well, I know one of the new members that we just pulled in, she says, I never knew about the committee, and I said, well, we're trying, and we're just trying to get the word out, but, but it's,
right, and that's why we're here having this conversation,
yeah,
so that people can hopefully definitely call the hotline and get involved if interested as well.
That's right.
So it looks like we're winding down here to about 19 seconds to go. So,
okay, good. So, Christine, I want to thank you very much
for
coming, and Mr. Rizzo, I want to thank you very much. And like I said, don't forget, call the hotline. It is 781-485-2770. Thank you.